Welcome to Brave Healer Productions. It's time to experience what's possible. So, what if there's something you haven't learned yet about writing that could change everything? Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we are helping the world experience what's possible. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the featured authors in one of our newest books. This book is called Writing, the Brave Healer's Guide for World Changers. Welcome, ladies. How's it going?
Thank you.
I can't wait to get into this juicy conversation about one of my favorite topics ever. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit more about who I have in my Zoom room today. But first, this whole idea of doing an expert collaboration on writing was I'm chuckling to myself because it was like, really? Like, you haven't done that one before now? All these years of bringing these authors together to do this amazing writing and collaborating, because this idea that we are the guru of everything and know everything, like, no, like, oh my gosh, all of these chapters that you guys are going to read in these different lanes of writing, even if I did know a little bit of everything, there's no way I would want to write that whole book in the way that we did it together. This turns me on. It is such a gift, this book. And if you're a writer of any level, you are going to find something in here that changes your writing game, and or your writing for healing game, right? All right, you guys. So Andrea Hyland is the founder of the nonprofit organization Heal My Voice and the Incubator, an online co-working space for women with writing support and coaching. Stephanie Urbina Jones is here. She's a visionary storyteller and midwife of dreams and things that bring healing power and joy to the world. Elizabeth Swibel is here. She's a grant writing consultant specializing in the research, cultivation, and writing of letters, communication, and grants for nonprofits nationwide. Oh my goodness, this is going to be fun. Okay, Andrea, tell me first, what has writing meant to you in your life in general?
In general, I would say it's been a lifeline. As a teenager, maybe even younger, it was a way to express things that I felt that no one else around me understood or saw my view of the world, of what was going on. And I have had a lot of loss in my life. And so death of a brother when I was 4, death of my son, who was 19 months old in 1993, and then the death of my husband in 2005. And writing was a way for me to express this wide myriad of feelings and express loss in general, disappointments, change, loss of a job, all of these things. So it's been a lifeline of getting to know myself and giving myself full permission to be myself.
I love that we're kicking off this way with using writing to heal and process and transform, and this place where we get to just move energy, right? Um, I'm thinking of you through those big losses in your life, and you aren't the only one who has answered that question that way, like lifeline, you guys, like survival tool, like this was a thing for me. If somebody's out there and they haven't tried it yet, what would you want to say to them about this process?
I would say write for yourself. And it doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks. You begin by writing for yourself. I began writing the chapter in this book for myself, that there was something I wanted to express. And so that's how I started. And I know that there is the thought, and I've even told people, write, think about who you're writing to. But I think for me, it's always been write to myself first. and then know that I will continue to bring it into more clarity for someone else who needs to hear what I needed to write.
I love that so much. It's a process that I use all the time. It doesn't even matter if I'm journaling or writing a Facebook post. Honestly, I'm always writing to myself. Whatever that message is, it's to me, it's about me, it's to me. And I love it when people email me and go, "Was that about me?" I'm like, no, it was about me.
Yeah.
But that's exactly how that resonates with other people because it is so personal for your heart, your soul. Andrea, thank you for saying yes to this project and for being here today.
Thank you. Thanks, Laura. Thanks for asking.
So, Stephanie, you're up next. Tell me a little bit about what writing has meant to you in your life.
Like Andrea, it's been everything to me. You know, part of my story is, that loneliness I felt as a child. And it was the music, the songs, the voice, the spirit of all those musicians and Carole King on Tapestry that came through and rocked me. Those songs were like, I was rocked in the arms of a song when no one else could be there for me. And so those words, "You've got a friend," I believed them. I felt them, and I still believe that she meant it. And so that's been the foremost in my lost periods of life and my joyful periods of life. Songs, books, words, the power, as a Toltec teacher, we're casting spells all the time with our words. And so, first as a songwriter, the power of, and for me too, Andrea, it's been those songs that I wrote for myself. They were little messages, my first broken heart. um, and breaking through things. And then it's been such an amazing thing to become not only an author and a lead author, because once I got, so much freedom finding my truth, finding my way through experiences, making peace with things that had been holding my attention, and my heartbreak had been evolved through my writing of chapters, and then holding that for other authors. We've just come off a weekend of authors reading parts of their chapters and what happens to us and to the people that experience those words. So I feel like I'm off on another tangent, but I'm obviously so passionate about the healing and the wholeness and the joy that writing holds for me, and then those for others who get to experience that.
The writing a song, writing like a lyric, writing a poem. Sometimes people feel so um like, oh, I can't do that. I'm not that person that can do that. What might you want to say to that person?
Go into that, go into your resistance, go into that moment. The song that, as an artist, when after my grandmother died and put this mission on my life to be a recording artist, to share my music, I didn't know how I could possibly do that. And it was when I felt defeated and literally was giving up that I went on a run, that the title and the song "Shaking Things Up" came through me, on that run, and broke through that moment of that song and my life. I can read those lyrics now, and I am living that 20-year-old's dream now. That's how powerful our words are to break through,
And are
so
you talking about a real run, like you went running?
I went running. I
Okay.
called my dad. I said, "I'm giving up. I'm giving up. I'm coming back to Texas. I can't do this." And he said, "Stephanie, put your running shoes on and go for a run and clear your mind." And I was on that run, and about a mile and a half in, the chorus to, I like shaking things up. I like pushing the boundaries. I like living my life on the edge and chasing far-fetched dreams. I'm gonna feel young when I grow old. I'm gonna
Mhm.
challenge the status quo. When feeling good just ain't good enough, I like shaking things up, being good. Anyway, so
Ah, love it.
yeah,
I love it. Thank you. Thank you
thank you.
for stepping in to when I wrote I must have texted you or emailed you that day. I'm pretty sure I texted you and I'm like, can you please do the songwriting chapter? Because you are the one that needs to do this chapter.
All
Thank you so much for
right,
saying yes.
thank you.
Elizabeth, talk to me a little bit about what writing has meant to you in your life in general.
Mhm. I've always loved to write since I was a little girl, similar to Andrea and Stephanie, whether it was writing poetry or short stories, and taking classes, creative writing, even high school classes. That for me, the writing for human connections has just always been very salient in my life. I love to read, and that is the other aspect of just really feeling that human connection. And while my writing's a little bit more technical, I do believe that you have to find that human connection with the funder and with the person that is reading the grant. So it's always been a through line. I've been drawn to make those connections.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I would imagine too. And I say this a lot about, you're talking about the technical writing, but I say it a lot
Mhm,
about, if I lined up 100 coaches and they were all, I was getting ready to hire somebody. So well, let's talk about grant writers.
mhm,
um, it's gonna be the one who put the personal connection into how they're positioning themselves that I am going to be drawn to. I mean, that's the reason you stand out. What else do you want to tell
mhm.
people about that piece? Like, how did you get comfortable putting that human connection into your writing like that?
Well, it's interesting because the world of grant writing has shifted a lot over 20 years. We used to send actual grants to people via the mail, and I was able to put in really special quotes or a personalized note. And I loved weaving in some quotes either that they had said or that someone in the industry had said that really made that connection. Now, most grants are done via portals, and there is a tight word count, and so it's changed a lot. However, you can still make that connection, which is a little bit of what I talk about in the book, by just reaching out and calling people. There's always someone behind that grant to figure out what are the words that will best connect with them and really have them feel something that will have your grant stand out. So that's the program that they want to fund.
Yes, nice. All right, you guys are going to get such gifts in the tools section of this book related to these specific
Mhm,
things. And a thanks to all three of you. I mean, not just for saying yes and doing this amazing thing that we're doing, but you took on my challenge and it was like vulnerable, real story. Let's go. Like, I want people to get to know who you are before you step up as the master teachers that you all are. And you did both, all of you did both sections so brilliantly. So thank you for doing that. It makes for a different level kind of book, a different vibe, different energy. And I am so grateful to all of our co-authors for really working on that. That writing is a self-development kind of journey, and you're all on that journey and you're willing to do it. Um, okay, I want to get behind the why, because you all also have lived a minute. You could have picked from so many different stories to share in the book. Stephanie, tell us a little bit about the why behind your story.
I think it kind of goes back to like even what Andrea was saying, that music from the very beginning was my medicine. It's what soothed and rocked and held and guided me. And so as a writer, I followed a dream to Nashville, and I'll never forget the first night before I left, my best girlfriend was like, "Don't go, it's a bad
mhm,
idea." You know, that's you. She literally said it's 1 in a million. And the way that things lined up, just a year down the road, I was writing with the #1 songwriter of the year there. And I pitched him an idea, which is not really a great idea. It's 1 in a million. And he wrote it with me. And on that, at the end of that, he said, "You have it." And I don't think I even realized until that point that I could make a living. I could be a songwriter, that that was something to be done. It's just like the light went on, and then it was game on. Then my dream and intent, matched my action. And I think, when the story just went on from there, and many years down the road after even becoming a recording artist, um, that dream in my heart to be a hit songwriter. There's just these moments you're like, well, that would be really cool. As an artist, you want the main stage of the Grammys, or at least I do. I'm holding that dream. That dream at the very beginning when I got to Nashville was like, wow, I want to be a hit songwriter. And the way that that unfolded many years later, that I was watching, came home from a performance show, and some guy on Messenger said, there is Blake Shelton, I think, just gave the guy on The Voice your song. And I was like, what? And it turns out that Blake Shelton had had that song for 15 years. Every time he was going to cut a song, he'd put it on hold and then he wouldn't cut it. And at some point, I just kind of gave up. I didn't put my attention on that. And here we are 15 years later. I'm tuning into The Voice and watching as Blake Shelton gives this song to Craig Wayne Boyd. Craig Wayne Boyd sings it. He wins The Voice. And like a week later, on Christmas Eve, they release this song to the country charts, and it goes to #1 on Christmas Eve, the day it was released. And I became a #1, country songwriter. And I share that story because, more importantly, it's the power of our hearts. It's the power of our intent. It's the power of a dream. And that way that that lined up was, I'm sure, more special than any other possible way that that dream could have come true, And so I share that with people, going back to where we started, writing from your heart. I think that that authentic voice, that came from my sacred longing, answering, trying to find my way, all the things that have happened, all the songs that have been cut, everything that's been meaningful to me and to anyone else in an audience have been those songs that meant the most to me and were that personal, you know?
Mhm.
So I said that in the medicine, it was like, if you have a dream to be a writer, and you were saying this to Laura, you're like, how? And I'm like, just do it. Do everything, put your intention on it, go to songwriting nights, write with people, do whatever it takes. And the road always will rise to meet you, even in your broken heart. Right.
Maybe even especially in your broken heart.
Especially in your broken heart. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I love that story so much. Just wait till you read all these chapters, you guys. I'm talking to our viewers right now. There's going to be a golden nugget, and you're hearing some of them now. And as you move through everybody's chapter, there's one in there for you. There's probably multiple in there for you. But as Stephanie is talking about songwriting, maybe that's the one thing that you wanted to know about. Maybe it's the thing you want to try. So, oh my gosh, yeah. Big gift. Okay, Elizabeth, I'm going to move to you for this same why question, like a little bit of the why behind the story that you chose for the chapter.
Well, I think, like many people, took a couple career choices to find my calling. Some would say failures, and failure is important because it allows you to grow and change, and maybe get into what you were supposed to be doing. I thought I was going to have a career in journalism, loving to write, and just coming from a small area of Buffalo, New York. everyone said, be a journalist. And I thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to work for the Washington Post, and I'm going to move to DC. And, it quickly became evident that this was not the career for me. My personality type did not fit what it took to get some of these stories. And it quickly became clear that my making human connections was trying to change the world, trying to make a difference, and discovering that something like grant writing could allow me to do that. And it sounds, again, it's very technical, but the nonprofits I've worked for, the nonprofits that are my clients, that are making amazing changes in the world, from homelessness to financial literacy. It really, this is what makes me get up in the morning every day. So I had to incorporate that type of writing into my life. And it took a couple times to see what that was going to be, but I am blessed that just by chance that I got into this.
Oh, I love that. Both of you too are like, you're all full of purpose, like that about the grant writing. Like, it's not just about that. It's about this humongous ripple that just goes out. And yeah, you keep saying it's kind of technical, but I'm like, who cares? Like, it's a big deal.
Yeah, and it allows me to work with all departments of the nonprofit, especially the program staff. That they're usually the very inspiring members of the team, and I get to learn what they're doing on the ground. It's obviously very important for me to understand exactly what they're doing on the ground, so I can then write about it for the funder. And I love hearing their stories and the impact that they're making.
Yeah, that's a fun piece of it that I never thought about too.
Yeah.
Very cool. And just a little side note, you guys, there's going to be a chapter on journalism too. So I'm going to have to get Val and Elizabeth together to talk about that particular journey. It takes an interesting something to do both of these kinds of jobs in writing, like really specific. Okay, Andrea, for you, give me a little bit of your why.
Well, there's a part of me that doesn't want to talk at all because I'm enjoying so much hearing everyone else and just feeling such inspiration. So I'll laser in here by just saying, first of all, that my chapter is called The Alchemical Process of Book Writing. Create time and space for your heart message to grow. And I wanted to highlight that alchemical process because what I was trying to do at one point was to write a book according to some rules that people had around write a book in a weekend, write a book in 3 months, in a number of, and it just never worked for me. And not to discount that as a process. I deep respect for anyone who that is your process. I trust that you know that for yourself. But what I saw was so many women and men who had a book they wanted to write. And because it wasn't being finished in a weekend or even a year, that they thought, okay, I'm not going to write the book. And I wanted to share a story of how I underwent a 6-year journey of writing a book and how that experience actually inspired me to start Heal My Voice and write other books that haven't even finished that other book. Maybe I will someday, but that book, I just feel like writing a book is a process, and a significant part of the process is who you are becoming in the process of writing your book. And that takes time and space. And I want to share also that one of the things I've seen with people, and I know maybe I'll get into more of this later, is that they discover things about themselves in the process. And hearing Stephanie talk about songwriting, I just wanted to share that I love to sing. I've never thought of myself as a songwriter until two of my 4 grandchildren, where I just found myself singing with them all the time. And my youngest granddaughter is 10 months old now. And every time I FaceTime with her when I'm across the country and not with her in Baltimore, I always start out, Inez Mesa, peace, love, joy. And there's a part of the song where I sing, she stands up, she's a leader, Inez Mesa. And she just like gets taller when I sing the song. So you never know in the process of writing and creating what other expressions are going to come out of you when you allow for that time and space.
Yes.
That's so awesome.
I know, what a great story. You can feel that little
I
like
am.
posture change, you know. Yes. I love that so much. Oh my gosh, you guys, you're the best. Your hearts. I'm so lucky I get to hang out with all y'all like all the time and hear about these transformational moments. And thanks, Andrea, because this next and last question for you all really has to do with your master teachings, right? And you started us off kind of nicely about this nugget about going through the book writing process. Elizabeth, I'm going to start with you for this. Specifically now getting into your tool of grant writing, what's the most important thing that you want our listeners to know about that? Let's say they're just starting off with this.
So the grant is the core promise of what you are going to do and what you're making to the funder or nonprofit. So make sure the writing is clear, but also make sure you understand what is expected of the writing. And that is the core of, my theme, which is grants that get results. It's more than the written word. It's not just about the writing, it's the connections that you make with the funder. The grant is everything the funder is going to be judging you on, and then that you're going to be reporting back. So the goals, the objectives, and the benchmarking that you need to make clear, because that's what you're going to be reporting back to them that you did. And the fun part about for me, since I love just working with people and making those connections, is that I get to work with so many people at the nonprofit to understand what's going to make the writing clear and how are we going to make sure that it matches what the funder wants. And I love working with everyone and seeing how they give me 20 documents to look at. They give me all these notes, and then I turn it into an LOI, and they go, "Oh my gosh, how did you do that? It's 3 pages of what we talked about and what I gave you." So that's a little bit about, the core of grant writing and grant making.
So do you remember your biggest win in grant writing? Like, can you give us a little taste of, yeah, I figured you might.
Yes. And I do always say, as also, a lot of clients will ask me, what's your ROI? How many grants do you write and how many do you get? And this is a collaborative process. It would be very rare for me to write a grant on my own and get the money on my own. And so my first job was with the Anti-Defamation League in New York. I was very young. They took a chance on me. I was the national grant writer. I think I was 24, 25 years old, writing all the national grants and grants for 28 regional offices. And that's where I got my start. And we did get a $10 million grant from the AT&T Foundation. So, yes, I wrote it with a collaboration, but yes, to get that large amount of money, I don't know if I've gotten that since, actually, but
Wow.
it was really, it's the best feeling, obviously, to get that. Yes.
Well, when we speak it out loud, it becomes real. So who knows from here on out, right? I love hearing
Right.
those stories. That's awesome. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that win. What a cool start for your career as well. Holy moly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exciting. All right, Andrea, you're next on this one. So the alchemical process. Wait, did I say that right? Alchemical, you say it.
Alchemical
Alchemical
of book writing. Yeah.
process of book writing. All right. What's the and so in your chapter, I can't believe we haven't talked about it yet so far in the interview today, but like you talk about what a burn book is. Like I even quoted you, and somewhere else I was writing about something. I'm like, if you talk to Andrea, then you're gonna have to burn it later. Like I thought about burning my own journals, and I had a moment, like I started to sweat a little bit. Could I burn these books? Anyway, what's the most important thing you want people to know about this process?
Well, I feel like, to understand that we all need support when we're writing. And so the tool that to me is the one that I share every year with people who I'm writing with is to set up a structure for yourself. Like I have 9 steps of things to think about when you are writing, creating that time and space, etc. So I have that, like create the structure, because to me, when you have a structure, it sets up an intention, it sets up a boundary, and that's when you actually can tune in, I'll just say, to other realms, which to me is what we're always doing with our creating. We may talk about, oh, I live in this 3D world. Yeah. And as a creator, you're tapping into different realms. You could say we open a portal. So hold yourself in that space. And I feel like that's the thing, having time and space, but having a structure that holds you. And that can include a writing coach, it can include a community, it can include listening to other people who are writing and creating, but create that structure that you're always putting that energy into, because things will burn off of you. Things will shift in your life. I wrote about getting rid of having a house and downsizing from an 11-room house to a 10 by 10 storage unit, and then living house free, and so on and so on. But it was about being on my knees, feeling like everything had been stripped away to get to the depth of what I really needed in order to be able to write what I had to say. Yeah.
Yes, nice. Oh my gosh. We need to have a whole nother podcast episode about living house free. I'm just saying, we're going to have you back to talk about that. Thank you for that. These master teachings, you guys, in the chapters, you're going to take away so many beautiful things. If you've got interest in these topics, these are going to be gifts to you. Stephanie, I want to close out with yours today. What's that most important thing you want people to know about the songwriting journey?
Honor yourself. Do whatever it takes to love every part of yourself and your journey. And for me, that has included going back and haunting the hard times, the heartbreaks, and finding the triumphs and rescuing myself and writing through that. And it's like we really do become what we believe. And so if you can go back and find those younger parts of yourself and bring yourself home all the way through your life, you truly become, as we had our little book, the one you've been waiting for. And you are worth it. I am worth it. We are worth it. We get to then live our dreams. Be relentless in your love for yourself.
Perfect. Perfect. Be relentless about that. Stephanie, Andrea, Elizabeth, thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share it with everyone. Thank you, gals.
Thank you. Thanks, Laura.
Thanks for having us.
So to all of our listeners today, maybe you can feel it, but this is way more than a book. This is a generous community. Maybe something one of the authors said to you today is giving you the goosebumps. Maybe you have a question or you just need some support on their, area of expertise or topic. Drop down into the show notes. I have everybody hooked up with their links. These gals are waiting for you to reach out, ask that question, carry on the conversation, reach out for the support. This community is badass. And I'm so proud on a constant basis of the community that we've created, not for just the writing book, for the Brave Healer community as a whole, for all of the things that we're helping you all with, and hoping that you realize what's possible for your life. When it comes to writing, we hope that you hop over to Amazon and grab your copy of this beautiful book. It's ready for you over there. And lastly, everyone, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it is time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.